Oh, I think I'm here. Ooh. Three areas of our house that are completely open. So we have the main 86, we'll have the now easement that's being used, and then the back alleyway, which is for specifically, I think noted as a, Andrew, what is it?
Fire lane.
A fire lane. So with the fire lane, people have been using that, they've been using the easement, and then we have 86. So we're kind of getting bombarded on three sides of our property. And we've lost a lot of privacy just even over the last month. So our concern is that, and that's what we would like to bring up today at this meeting. And Andrew, do you want me to add you to the list? I think my husband would like to speak too, but I'm done. Okay. Did you have anything? No, okay. Just me then. Okay. Back to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Consent items. We need to approval of agenda. Approval of minutes from January 3rd, 2024,
Start with the approval of the agenda.
right? Okay, approval of agenda.
I move we approve the agenda. I second that.
Oh, is this the agenda? Is this the one we're approving?
From January 3rd.
The one for today. You're approving today's agenda.
Agenda.
The one page.
Okay, this one, I'm just wondering to.
That's next.
That's
Oh, it's just January 3rd, 23.
Just a quick note.
Okay, I'll fix that.
The minutes from the last meeting.
Gotcha. We're not there yet. Okay. And Sandy, you seconded? Okay.
Okay, now approval of minutes from January 3rd, 2024.
With the typo fixed.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay, we're okay.
All right, let's move on to new business.
Okay.
First order of business, rezone application. 811 County Road 134, Kiowa, Colorado 80117.
Foster? Is Foster here?
I don't see Foster.
Okay, well, maybe let's skip him and
Let's skip over Foster.
we'll come back to him. Okay. We're
All
gonna
right,
skip him and
well,
come back to him.
we're going on to Farmers State Bank application 434 Comanche Street, Kiowa, Colorado 80117. New construction plan review and proposal.
So Travis, are we starting with you or are we starting with the bank engineers and stuff that are here?
Traditionally, staff would provide a brief report to coincide with the staff report provided to the commissioners.
Okay. So you
And,
wanna go first? That's fine.
Yep, and I'm prepared to do that. I'll share my screen.
Can we turn it up a little bit?
Can't turn it up from there, you just turn it up from the screen.
Mine's at 100%.
Sharing to share now. All right. You able to see that?
Yep. You need to see that, okay?
Okay, great. And that's the title page for Farmers State Bank proposed site plan. That's what you're able to see. Sorry. Just want to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Travis Reynolds. I'm with Safe Built's planning team, who's consultant to the town regarding planning and zoning items. Tonight, we're here to present briefly the Farmers State Bank proposed site plan to you this evening, which is a requirement of the currently adopted actually subdivision regulations where your site plan process is currently stored. Typically, as I mentioned, we'll go through a brief presentation here that coincides with the staff report we provided somewhat in the 11th hour to you as of yesterday. I apologize for that. And then we can hear from the applicant as well after that, and then field questions and move into any deliberations or action. So the background here, property location is at 434 Comanche Street. This is a roughly 1.76 acre vacant lot currently that is zoned for retail business under this acronym of C1, traditionally like a commercial zoning. The proposal is to construct a approximately 3,800 square foot single story bank office building with a clear story and drive-through lanes. We'll see the site plan here in a minute regarding this and what's been proposed. As I mentioned this evening, Planning and Zoning Commission's charge is to provide a recommendation to the Board of Trustees for the consideration of approval of the site plan at a future public hearing, which is currently scheduled for the 14th of May. We have a presentation, or we have a aerial image here of the current vacant site. As you can see, there's residential neighborhoods on the west side, To the north, the Historic Society Museum is also to the north. To the south, there are more additional residential neighborhoods, as well as to the east, there is the Elbert County Motor Vehicle Department, a commercially zoned property in that location. There is access to the site on the rear or the south side via Navajo Street, but the main access here will be from Comanche Street as proposed. We'll see the proposal in a second. This is just a demonstration of essentially the survey for the current site that highlights some of the encumbrances from easements that exist on the site for utilities. And we'll show those in a little bit more detail in a couple of slides. General street view of this current vacant site, showing it sloping from the southeast to the north, very gentle slopes, but currently vacant. And you'll see those the residential neighborhoods to the west, and then the proximity of the Elbert County Motor Vehicle Department to the east. This is another view of the site looking from the south to the north towards Comanche Street, from the backside of the end of what is currently Navajo Street. General cover page for the proposed project in accordance with requirements of the current site plan requirements of the municipal code, highlighting the general information that we've highlighted for you as well in the staff report. This is the general look at the site plan here. We're highlighting in blue the proposed location of the building, approximately 2/3 of the way back from the front of the site, or the northern portion along Comanche of the site, showing the main access on Comanche with a negotiated and designed right in, right out traffic access point at the front there near Comanche Street, as well as a secondary access to the rear of the site onto Navajo Street. Parking is depicted for the structure in accordance with the zoning code here, and the requirements of the zoning code, as well as on the southern portion of the building, you'll see the drive-through lanes and the drive-through window area with a canopy cover for 2 of those lanes, where an ATM will be located as well. This is a picture of the utility plan here. The orange areas that were depicted here are the utility easements that are existing for various different utilities provided to the site, including overhead electricity, etc. And then you'll see in the blue line here is how water service will be coming off of the main line at Comanche, as well as the sanitary sewer that's going to access outfall on the western side of the site, where current sanitary sewer exists. Additionally, the applicant has provided a demonstration of the landscape plans in accordance with the zoning code and to the development standards required of the town, showing tree plantings along the western edge of the property, as well as the front along Comanche Street, as well as tree plantings in various parking islands provided throughout the site, as well as the building itself being planted with various shrubs and other landscaping materials. There's a shrub screening on the rear of the site that's providing screening for the proposed trash dumpster in the back of the site, and the rest of the site will be seeded with native seed. An irrigation plan is also provided with this, which means that all landscaping will be irrigated in accordance with the code, and that native seed area is also depicted to be irrigated as well. So there will be no drought conditions necessarily for the site. Applicant has provided elevations, colored renderings and elevations to depict what the building will look like. This is the front or north elevation for the proposed structure. This is what they're calling the right side elevation, otherwise known as the west structure. And you'll see 2 mechanical air conditioning units here on the side that were part of a discussion in the staff report. This is the south elevation for the site, depicting the drive-through lanes and the three drive-through lanes, the canopy hanging out over two of those drive-through lanes, and the proposed bank window as well as the ATM equipment here on the south side rear of the structure. And finally, the left side elevation east. This is the one that's facing the Elder County Motor Vehicle Department. You'll see their landscape plantings here that ring the building and make it look very nice. And sorry, is there a question?
Questioning your landscape choices. We have a very heavy population of deer. They are brutal on
everything.
plants.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, we can discuss that with the applicant between now and the public hearing with the town board, and see if there's anything we can do to swap out some of those species proposed. Our next slide here is kind of basically a summary here. We're talking about this evening, Planning and Zoning Commission's charge this evening, as I mentioned earlier, is to provide a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. Those guidelines provided by the zoning code are to look for that recommendation for approval with conditions, or for denial for reasons stated. And that's what we'd be looking for you to forward to the Board of Trustees that we would take forward on the 14th of May. As we outlined in our staff report, the staff's recommendation is to recommend approval with conditions as provided in the staff report and in accordance with the findings as provided and outlined in the staff report. And we can discuss those that we provided to you in that staff report as considerations for recommendations. And then after that recommendation is forward, as I mentioned, what's next? Recommendation will be forward to the Board of Trustees for their consideration on the 14th of May. And with that, I would turn it over to representatives for the applicant that I understand are in the audience to provide any other additional feedback or statements they would like to make regarding the proposed project.
Good evening, I'm Larry Gilland. I'm the architect representing our LGA Studios in the bank, former State Bank and the bank. Representatives are here this evening, so we can ask some questions there. We have gone through a number of comments that Travis had through the review process. And the one item that I know that he brought up that I saw that yesterday, and that is some screening that is around some mechanical, which we can easily work through and provide that. Nice screenshot. There you go, Dennis. Thank you. So that would be one thing that we will screen that little space. There are basically just two mechanical air conditioning units that would be located off that end of the building. The building itself is going to be a brick masonry exterior structure with a dark colored roofing material, accents of stucco, nice clear story spaces that are in there. The building itself is set back a ways from the street. That's primarily because of the utility easements. The electrical has been probably the biggest issue with that, as far as that, which is that secondary pink line that is coming off of Comanche Street. So that is pretty well set in stone. As much as we've tried to look at relocating it, moving it, doing whatever we can, it's not going anywhere. So we've had to work definitely around that spot. One of the town considerations that came through from earlier review was on parking. The town has a parking width of 10 feet. We originally planned for 9-foot wide spaces. We looked at if we go to a 10-foot wide space, we basically lose 4 parking spaces. And it's something that we can easily accommodate. I think that, you know, vehicles out here in this particular part of the country are many times larger trucks. So, you know, it might totally make sense to do that. We just want to make sure that the bank employees have a place to park and it's not just a huge parking lot out there. So that's something that can be accommodated there. Landscaping wise, I might have to lean on Colleen a little bit on that one. I know that there have been a little bit of some adjustments that happen there, and I think the comments about the deer. We can certainly go back and look through the landscape plan to do that. I know my own house, I can't grow anything there, but flowers or anything of that nature, so I think we can definitely address that. And then I think the only other really comment that has come from the public, I would have to defer that one to the bank as far as whether banks would be appropriate. And then early on, we've had a chance to kind of talk with adjacent neighbors about access and property and water drainage and things like that. So I'm hoping that if we need to bring that back up, Lean can answer that as well. We have provided for on-site water treatment or detention. Sometimes it's called water quality these days. CDOT is making us have a one in and one out access onto Comanche Street. So we have to live with that because that's a state highway. So that's kind of what we'd like to see. I know that early on our discussions, that wasn't necessarily preferable, but we have to work with that from CDOT. The drive up, the bank facility is very similar, if you're familiar with Farmer State Bank, of the facility that's actually in Falcon. It's kind of set a prototype for what looks like Farmer State Bank, and it's a good model for that. One question that came up from Travis on the review on our construction drawings, the bank doesn't need the total amount of space, but they also may grow. And so we started with a smaller facility and then we added space that is basically off on the side of the bank itself. That would allow the bank to grow into more offices as needed. That would be something that it doesn't change the occupancy. It's set in there. And I think it's just a matter of during the construction period of time, we may or may not add those offices immediately, or they may come back in at a later date. That'll be a decision that we need to kind of walk that through. The contractor's very familiar with the site. He's been here before. I actually have been around for 42 years in our company. And his dad was actually one of my first clients. So that might speak a little bit to not only our company, but the integrity of the people that you're dealing with here. I'm not sure that there's any other comments, Travis, that we need to address. I know that was part of some last minute conditions that we were running back and forth yesterday on, but we can certainly have those addressed and ready for the board in 2 weeks, so.
Yeah, and I can speak to the landscaping if you'd like. So Travis, if you wanna bring up the landscape plan. Okay, so you can see in your area, we do have screening trees, so there'd be 5 screening trees. And then also the wall there, so, and those are not within the easement, they'll be planted right outside the easement, but again, there would not be access to that part, but for you guys, because we have to connect the sidewalk, and that was a CDOT requirement. So there, you'd have to enter from Navajo. So that whole area there, is gonna, I think would look nice with the trees and the shorter wall. And then we do have 2 trees at the front there. Again, that's not in the access easement, it's right outside. And then you'd still have the turning movement that's in front of your wall there.
But is the camper gonna whack the trees once they get bigger? I mean. Okay. You'll be your first million.
Yeah, and I don't think the trees get too big up here, so.
Okay, yeah.
They're more of like a little tree. And then there's trees along the front of, Comanche, so those are like the planting requirements per the planting code. The landscape code. But I can definitely address some species type questions too. I'm not the landscape architect, so I would have to write them down and probably see what's on the plan versus what you would like, but that's, yeah.
Sorry, I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Do you know how old the trees will be when they're planted?
I don't, but I'm pretty sure they have a caliper requirement for the actual width of the trunk.
Okay,
And that probably is on the plan.
I think that's on the plan.
Yeah,
They're generally
so they-
about a 2.
2 inch.
2 inches pretty common.
2 inch, so however long it takes them to get to that.
Probably a 2 or 3 year old tree.
so obviously in the beginning, before the tree is grown, we're still gonna have a lot of
Privacy.
area where people can just see straight through our property and what we're doing, so, although I love trees and I think it will look very beautiful, that still raises a concern for us and our property.
Yeah, would you prefer not to have the trees and just the fence then? Like how high of a fence with that? I don't know.
I think we have a height requirement,
I mean,
a minimum, like it's 6 feet, anything over that would require a variance.
You mean a maximum?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maximum
that's
six.
what I meant, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maximum 6 feet.
Yeah.
I think we want everybody to be, there's no doubt we want everybody to be happy, the neighbors to be happy. I think Randy and I'd be more than happy to come down, look at your fence you have now and visit with you about, cost share on replacing your fence with a privacy fence. I mean, that's really what you're.
Technically, it's your fence.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
it is on your side of the easement, though. You want it on your yard, though, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it on your property now or is it on the easement?
When we bought our house, we were told that fence belonged to Who Motors, who owned the property prior, but we owned the other fences around our house. But in, let's see, Kiowa Municipal Code Section 17-15, the landscapes, subsection H, where a parking lot boundary adjoins property zoned for any residential use, a minimum landscape buffer of 25 feet from such parking lot boundary shall be required. Within said landscape buffer, an earthen berm with an average side slope no greater than 3 to 1, view obscuring fence or decorative wall with a minimum of 4 feet shall be required. So we would like to see at least that minimum of 4 feet. We would prefer a privacy fence, and that section of our lot is approximately 142 feet. And a 6-foot privacy fence made of pressure treated pine would come to approximately $3,718.10, including tax. That is not with labor. So if you want to have a private discussion about that later, we'd certainly be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want. That doesn't sound like to me.
Well, and I think it would make it, the bank entrance look better with a nice privacy fence, then the trees in front of that to where it all, I mean, you don't wanna look at the trees and then see her wire fence or her backyard.
Or me
I
out
would-
in my short shorts.
I would like to see the trees and then a nice fence on the other side.
I don't think anything.
Yeah. That's all right, Sarah.
Brad, would, I don't know if we'll have enough daylight here after tonight, but maybe we could, I'll do my car, we can tomorrow or the next day or something, come over with Brad or
Sure, I'll be happy to meet you guys.
whatever works. for
My son
everybody.
does fencing for a living, so he did give me a quote of, he said it thought to be around $35 to $42 a lineal foot for a cedar fence. So, and that's 6 foot tall privacy fence, that's what he just texted me. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at. I would stay away from pine, it's just gonna rot, it's gonna fall apart.
Mhm.
So you'd be better off going with a western red cedar fence.
Just cedar.
Yeah, choice of wood is certainly, open to a
So
discussion. And then my proposal here is a board on board style.
it'd be like, you'd have like posts and you'd have 2x4s running horizontal this way, then you'd have vertical
Yeah.
1x6 boards going on
dog
there.
ears.
Kind of, yeah, you could even put them, you know, half over here, half on here, just staggering back and forth. That allows
The
the
shadow
wind.
box,
Yeah, it kind of allows the wind get through.
right, but that at an angle is easy to see through. so
Well, that's
that-
whatever you guys want.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you an option. I'm sure, something, you know, I'm one of you guys. So, whatever you guys want to try to work out, you know, instead of putting wood post in, I'd probably, my son would probably put in metal post. So they'll stay for a long time, instead of, you know, cedar rotting off in 20 years and having high wind blowing them over, so. Or you guys could use wherever you want, but. You know,
Yeah,
work with me.
we do have been talking
Yeah,
about
sure.
replace.
Andrew, by the way.
Right. Nice to meet you.
There's just like an in-house fence permit. Yeah, yeah, that's just to kind of, you come through me and you tell me what you're doing. And I go, okay. As long as it follows that, you know, maximum height ending, but what you're proposing, a 6-foot privacy cedar fence, that's,
Not a problem.
yeah.
Sarah, did you have another question?
I just have two other things. So, the space between where the, easement starts on the bank property to where it adjoins to our property, so that small, I don't know how many feet that is.
It's gonna be about.
The 20 feet.
Oh. Of the face of the gains.
Okay.
And there's really, you guys have a 15 foot is what it is. Am I correct, Karen?
Yeah.
So,
And we added another 5 feet, give you guys a little more room.
yeah.
So that's about what you'll have.
My question is on that, part right there where it adjoins to the sidewalk. Is there, I guess a fence might solve that issue, but is that going to be open to allow people to go down the easement?
The curb's gonna be there, am I correct?
It can't be closed off.
Right, well.
Because of fire.
So traffic pulling into the bank, your question is if the traffic is pulling into the bank right there off the highway, can they turn into the easement instead of the bank? Is that what you're?
Yeah, we were always
Proposing.
led to believe it couldn't be blocked off. Is that correct?
Yeah, right now it does show a curb. So you wouldn't be able to access that way, with the sidewalk,
You'd have to come in from Navajo.
Navajo, to get to your garage.
And to
So
their,
that would be blocked off, which would probably
With the
be
sidewalk.
better for you guys for privacy.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah.
And
All about our
the
privacy.
entrance to the bank would not join our driveway at all?
No,
Okay, cause we
No.
have people going to the DMV to pull.
no,
into our
no,
property.
and this would
Yeah.
probably help the traffic flow because that now current access
Right.
would have a curb there and the sidewalk.
And it would
so
just be
Okay.
from our side.
they-
Access, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
access.
Is there gonna be a turning lane right there?
No.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
So
Okay.
as far as like us pulling out of our driveway, you know, oftentimes we pull out and then make a U-turn onto Comanche Street. I guess my question is, how will it be labeled as like, this is Farmers State Bank, here's the entrance?
And like private drive, like you wanna make sure yours says private drive? Is that kind of what
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering about,
the differentiation?
since they will be so close together, how that will be differentiated.
It's a good point, though.
Thank you.
well, according to the turn lane right there in the picture showing, coming off of there, you've got, it'll be paved or asphalted, whatever.
Yeah, and the bank does have a sign, so it'll be signed at the entrance.
Yeah.
What a lot of people do when they have that situation in the city is they put up private drive, do not enter. So you can get one of those at Walmart for a couple bucks.
For sure.
Probably
And
turn
I
on your
think
side of
once
the
people
fence.
see it, the visual, they'll figure it out.
You think that?
You would, no? I
People
would think
still
that.
pull into our driveway.
I would think
I mean,
that.
we're kind of used to that a little bit, but I mean, it'll be a lot closer in proximity to where I think people.
Well, they
it'll
use
just
our,
happen.
they use our driveway to turn around,
Yeah,
because they realize it's not a through street.
yeah.
So that's gonna make a lot of traffic on Navajo now.
Yes.
Right. And that's what, I've got one question about that because of the town park. We're going to have to relabel signage, speed limits, park signs. All the way down there, we've got some high schoolers and a couple kids that are a little bit older than high schoolers that are using that as a raceway. From the stop sign, down around that corner, and they go down around that corner, and then they hit that dip and take off.
We'll contact the sheriff's office and
I called them 3 times, and you know what they said?
I'm saying, well, they can't do that. They're supposed to police it.
We're in town, and they don't seem to think that they have to do them. So I'm done calling them. I'm just saying, we as a town are gonna have to put up signage, speed signs, speed limit signs. It's a residential. I know it's 30 or 25 or,
25.
but if I had a police gun, I can tell you that some of those people are going down from the stop sign on Apache, what is that? Apache? No, Pawnee to down and around the park at 35, 40. We've got a couple kids that race down there.
That's something. the
I
town can
even-
handle, Sandy.
Yeah, that's
That's
not
something
anything
the town
that
can
the
handle.
bank's gonna
That
do.
is nothing,
I have
that's
a
no bearing
question.
on the bank.
That's a town
No
issue.
issue.
Okay.
I have a
But
question
we'll
about
drop that.
Navajo again, Navajo Street. So as it sits right now, motor vehicle is not able to access Navajo. But once the bank is built, will that be open for motor vehicle to come across through to get to Navajo? Or
No.
is there gonna be like,
No.
There's a wall there.
No.
They can't.
There'll be a wall there.
they're built, okay, that's
Karen.
good.
This, not to take away from the bank, but when you're talking about the flow of traffic in town, if they don't go around the park, they will turn on Pawnee and between the liquor store and Unbridled. That is a horrible spot. The town needs to do something because you pull out, Kent and I videoed it and took pictures. Cars park where the fire hydrants are, you cannot see. That is a wreck about to happen.
I agree.
There was a
Right
lady there that got hit.
Yes,
just not too
it-
long ago.
It's not enforced. We have no cops to enforce it, to paint it bright red, something. They park too close to the corner.
Yeah, but that's not a bank.
That's not a bank.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, we need to
I
let
would
them
just
get
suggest we
finished their
stay on track
presentation.
and-
So my question is though, like, do we have any anticipation of how many people will be going out the backside and down the residential street?
I would guess most would come in and go back out.
And go back out on the highway?
I'm gonna guess 50% of your traffic is gonna access Navajo to exit. Because half your traffic wants to go right on 86, half your traffic wants to go left.
Well, and they
You
do now.
cannot go left.
And even if you have a driveway that says right turn only, they're gonna turn left anyway.
Well, I
so.
would
Yeah.
hope so, and that way they stay
Yeah.
on Navajo. It's
Yeah.
too bad they didn't, CDOT didn't allow you a left turn
Mhm.
out of your parking lot. And why not? Other businesses in town are doing
Well, they
left
didn't
turns.
do it for the.
Well, I mean, is CDOT willing
You
to,
can't, you can't turn, you're
What
not
are the
supposed
odds
to
of
turn
being
left
able to
out of
change
Navajo
that?
Oh, you're
across
not.
all those double yellow lines. Or
Even
even
though
the
it's
even
legal.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's let the bank finish their presentation.
It's been suggested to me that there's eventually gonna be a median that goes down the middle
That
of
is
that
true.
highway.
That was why, CDOT would not allow.
Right. So I remember those
It's-
conversations, and all that you guys had to go through. I think you had to file an appeal with them.
Yeah.
As well, if I remember right. We also have our storm drainage sidewalk project that's coming up, and that's gonna entail from the bridge all the way up to the newer portion up by the current bank, by the school. So all of that's gonna be ripped out of there and it's gonna be replaced, in some form or fashion. Those 4 lanes are gonna turn into 2 lanes
Oh, really?
with a
Isn't
center
there-
turn
The
lane.
median
With a
could be
median down the
raised
middle
or
of the highway.
something that you
I don't
can't
know yet.
do anything.
I don't know yet.
But it's
Like
not like a
appendix
turning
to
lane
turn.
median.
No, it's not.
Middle.
No,
No,
Okay.
it's not.
You guys wanna be-
So all the other businesses down there are under the same requirements. It's not just the bank.
Yeah,
But
No,
they're doing
understood,
that because
yeah.
there's some sort of future plan that's going to hinder that, and they're just preparing them all now.
So they're just being, okay,
Yes.
preparing and being consistent.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Can I say one thing to Travis?
Yeah.
Travis, you guys have the water line going out to Highway 86. And I spoke with the town, Paul, and he said we could bring the water line in off of Navajo Street, which would make it a heck of a lot easier and a lot cheaper instead of cutting into Highway 86. I just wanted to make sure that's all right with everybody here. So you guys don't hold my feet to the fire for.
Yeah.
for
I mean-
changing stuff.
Paul would be the expert in that
Yeah.
as to where the water lines go and where the best access points are. So, I mean, if he says that it would be better or easier to come in from Navajo, well, that's,
Yeah, and that's what.
we would have to rely on his expertise on that one.
He's a great guy. He said that'd be fine. Yeah, I just got a pothole for the water, so when we're excavating, so I think that's about I see. So,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's a service line to the structure, and so, I mean, I don't think we have to worry about it being placed in easements or anything along those lines, so, as long as that's reflected in the plans, and we can get that through circulation and have have the civil engineer and possibly, I guess, Paul review it such that there's no conflicts with it, yeah, I think that'd be fine.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't think we have any other questions unless.
I have a question on the screening of the dumpster on the backside of the property.
Mhm.
Is that a wall, just landscaping?
No, it is a wall that goes around that.
Okay, so it blocks the whole dumpster like a three-sided wall.
Yeah, and then landscaping is
There is
there to
landscaping.
help.
And then
Buffer.
in addition, okay,
So
very
that's
good, thank you.
Watch out for them raccoons around here.
How long is it anticipated before it's done?
Like signing.
Just out of curiosity.
Call in a minute.
You know,
A
it's
year?
just a good wind.
12 months?
It gets really windy.
About 12-month period.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, how long it is?
They have the.
Since I lost
Yeah.
this month, I'm gonna say we're probably gonna be going into December, 8 months. 8 months is what I'm hoping.
So we plan 12 months and you finish
Yeah.
it, Dave, that's gonna be one.
Let's just say a year, and I was actually hoping to be done in 7 to 8 months, I could have started back at first.
That's Travis said, yeah,
So,
everything
but
else when Brad started.
It is what it is.
Then we could get it moved down there for about.
When are you planning to break ground if everything goes through or?
Well, we gotta go through this next, May 14th.
Yep.
Is when we have our next meeting, board of commissioners or whatever. I'm hoping the permit in, we'll be just about ready to rock and roll right after that, so I'm hoping.
Yeah, if it gets approved by the town board, it should be right after that. They're gonna write a big fat check and, well, 2 big fat checks. And then they should get their permit and be able to break ground pretty quick after that.
If you guys have any concerns or questions while I'm working, I'll be on the job site.
Well, we'll bring you some refreshments.
I'm easy to get along. with, really am.
What are your hours of operation out in the field?
Well, and
Okay,
noise.
it'll probably be, I don't know, does the town have work hours?
No.
There'll probably be, some guys might show up at 6:30, most
Some
times it's
down.
probably gonna be like 7 to 6 at the very most, later in the afternoon. But really, once we get the main structure up, get the brick up, the roof up, then we're gonna be inside. So then it'd be pretty quiet, but
You work 7 days a week?
no, we'll work 5 to 6.
Okay.
But we won't work Sunday unless, God forbid, something happens, but most times you gotta have a quiet Sunday or quiet Saturday also.
We do have a very loud dog, Great Pyrenees that bark, so I apologize in advance.
Sorry.
About her barking at you.
Say, if you talk to her, she stops. Every time I walk to the bank currently and make a deposit, I'm like, hi, Papa Dog, and then she kind of looks at me like,
All
you're talking
right,
to me.
Travis, do you have anything else to add to this?
We have nothing else to add. I think it's, as we mentioned here, the charge of the commission is to look for, to provide a recommendation to the board. So to the extent that we can formalize that, that would be, the appropriate procedure.
Okay, so Travis, your recommendation, can you go back over that?
Yes,
As-
certainly.
So the board understands where they're kind of going?
Let's see. So what we provided here, we indicated in our staff report itself that we outlined a series of conditions that we felt like were appropriate to bring forward, given the, let's just call it 90% nature of the plans and the various issues that were still outstanding that we hadn't settled. And so I think it would be appropriate to, with all those those recommendations, for conditions, that none of them were egregious. We heard a couple others this evening. And so we'd like to probably memorialize those on some level and take those forward to the board. Our recommendations included the augmentation of the parking spaces, a discussion of the lighting standards and an operational augmentation so that the nighttime lighting is reduced. Completion of the CDOT access permit and evidence of that provided. The screening standards that we talked about for the air conditioning units on the west side of the site, and other referral agencies who had remaining outstanding comments, including Core Electric and the civil consultant for the site. Those are some basic things that need to be remedied prior to ultimately approval, if the town board so chooses.
There any other questions from the board?
So you guys said that's on page 9 of your packets.
Yeah.
Everything's given.
I will say, that makes for a very complex motion, frankly, for the commission. And so I think it would be appropriate to motion for a summary of those conditions that are included in the staff report, as well as those that were discussed this evening. We can memorialize them and forward them to the board.
Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So I make a motion that we approve with the conditions that were provided in this staff report.
Plus the fence.
Yeah, well,
Plus we can add that.
And the
Make sure
other,
it's in there.
the other considerations.
the other considerations that were discussed through public comments.
Okay,
I second that. Motion.
and to send it to the board?
And to send it to the board, correct.
Okay. So, you want to take a vote?
Yeah, let's take a vote.
So all in favor?
All in favor?
Say aye.
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 Any nays?
Get her done.
Okay, sounds like the motion passes.
Thank you.
And you'll all be back here on the 14th.
Yeah, we'll see you again.
No, I think it's gonna be a great deal. I mean, I'm happy to have.
It's gonna be a great asset to the town since we've lost all of our banking.
Yeah.
We don't have an ATM unless you're gonna go to the grocery store and they're closing at 5 o'clock.
Now, you will be giving out lollipops, right?
And doggy bones in the drive-through.
And doggy bones? I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I think it's a wonderful idea.
We've already discussed the.
All right, well, anybody who was here for the bank,
Oh, we did throw that in.
you can go.
Good to go.
I'm not receiving no response on the others, so we can.
Okay, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Old business.
And that one is at 7.
Yes, that one's at 7, yes.
Oh, don't forget your map that you've got
Yeah,
hanging.
oh yeah, don't forget your map. I was gonna say, yeah, the water board. meeting. Okay. Yeah, and I called Foster today to remind him of the meeting.
So does that mean we don't have to approve it and he has to reapply?
No, we have to come.
He has to come to the meeting.
So we don't have to approve it, it's done.
No, yeah, because he has to come speak to it, and I called him today and reminded him that the meeting was at 6. So,
And say.
Old business. Anybody have any old business?
you might want to wait.
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay, folks. Hey, folks, we want to finish the rest of our meeting so we can go home. Yep,
You go out there and talk.
yeah, go out there and talk.
Yeah, I don't see Shorty's sitting in there.
I can bring on my school teacher voice, like,
Right.
okay, let's go, boys and girls. Get
You
out.
don't want me to whistle, do you?
No.
Thank you. No, don't, no, don't.
That's what I do in the.
Okay, so-
I'm not real sure what the deal is with Foster.
No,
He's
that's
not
ours.
shown up, he's not responded to me.
And I
Sorry, he
called
sent
him.
that money and everything, but.
So now he has to reapply.
He's gonna have to redo the process.
Yay.
Wow.
Okay, well,
All right.
Kimberly, is that their easel?
Actually,
That's ours.
video
That's
from
our
the bank
easel.
that's
Alright.
running that
Yeah,
shows-
Sasha would figure it out somewhere.
Show.
Yeah.
Cause Karen's like, there used to be one here. Go find it.
okay, Lori?
Everybody, oh, okay, old business. Everybody have any old business?
No,
Correspondence, information, review, discussion
nope.
on anything. Right, I'd like to adjourn this meeting on May first
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
7:56.
I second the motion.
Third.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Okay,
Yeah,
It's gonna be really good.
okay.
I mean, it's.
All right.